have six horses in 4 races.
Possible, if we can get them all in.
Get them all in. Okay, well let's start. You've gotten a lot of Breeders' Cup experience, just loading up on the Breeders' Cup experience the last few years.
It's a nice way to put it.
It's good experience until we break through this year. I have a lot of confidence that you guys are going to break through this year. But one of my favorite fillies of the last 10 years was a Canadian champion, daughter of Point Given. Her name was Celia Hill. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about her and maybe that Breeders' Cup run she made back in 2008?
Yeah, you know what? Going into the race, she ran well, but not as well as we had hoped. But she was training good. We took her out there, and for instance, I thought she was going to win, and she actually I think would have done better when she would struggle a little bit at Woodbine with the long stretch. Mm-hmm. She would you never knew which direction she was going to run. She was a tough filly in that she never ran straight, but she put it all together in the Breeders' Cup. I was disappointed. She was fine after the Breeders' Cup, but they decided to breed her, and we ended up with Hillaby was her first foal, who we trained for Stone Street, who ended up being champion sprint older mare in Canada. So it worked out okay.
Not bad, 2 champions in the same family. Now, Celia Hill, the year before the Breeders' Cup, we're talking about the Breeders' Cup already, but the year before the Breeders' Cup, she went on a run, and she did it on different surfaces. And how did she win that Canadian championship on the strength of?
Well, she won the Triple Tierra, I believe, that year, which no filly had done for a while. She had won the Oaks, and then she won the Bison City, and then the Wonderwear. But she was she could take her game anywhere. She was a good filly, mean as can be. I can remember after she was voted Horse of the Year. I went to Winding Oaks, and I asked the guy that runs it, Phil Ronick. I said, "Where is she?" I went out to the paddock, and I got out into the middle of the paddock to go say hi to her. And then I thought, you know what, this may not have been the wisest idea. And she came after me, tried to jump on me. Oh, she was mean.
Did she recognize you and come after you? Or?
She didn't like anybody, but I saw in my mind, Horse of the Year, Celia Hill kills trainer. And I escaped.
That would have been a headline we probably would have covered on Horse Racing Nation, I imagine, Travis.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Did you call any of Celia Hill's races, you remember?
I did not, no. I think the most famous Casse horse I've called is Noble Bird, Danzig Moon.
Can we hear that again?
Yeah.
You called Tepin.
Tepin, too. Tepin, that's right.
Yeah, that was the Distaff Turf Mile. Celia Hill was definitely one of my favorites. Other Breeders' Cup good experiences you've had over the years going into this year?
We just missed with Laugh Track.
Laugh Track ran very well. Delegation ran okay. It's been our experience at the Breeders' Cup so far has been not the greatest, but we're going to change it this year.
You're going to change it this year, and I don't know, it's pretty good. I mean, Celia Hill, 45-1 or so. That's not bad. Guys, why don't we take an early break here to watch Celia Hill in the 2008 Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. She's in the Eugene Melnick blue and gold colors on the inside.
All set for their 1.25 mile journey. Field for the Emirates Airlines, Filly and Mare Turf sent on their way, and Frankie Dettori wants the early lead. He's sending Folk Opera early. Folk Opera sprints away from them early. Vakara in the red cap is going to get up second. Just behind them, Moralakana's taken a nice hold. In the centre is Halfway to Heaven in the 4th spot. Pace solid early on. Then we come back now to Dynaforce, who's taken back into mid-pack. Oh, and suddenly they slow the pace right down up front. In the centre, we have Wait a While, one of the greys, being tracked by the other grey, Forever Together, who's now 8 lengths off these leaders. Visitors back third last. Celia Hill racing second last, and Pure Clan is 11 off the leaders. So they run past the grandstand first time round, and Frankie Dettori dictating things out here as he has Folk Opera on the lead. Has it by a length. Halfway to Heaven is quite content to track in the second spot, and there goes Wait a While on the far side, a length and a half off them now. Not in any hurry out here. Vakari in the red cap continues to scrape the paint. Moralakana been patiently ridden from fifth, is 4 lengths off the leaders. Then there's Dynaforce in the blue colours. Up alongside is Forever Together, who's now 5 lengths off the leaders. Visit is racing back third last, been followed by the long shot Sealy Hill, who's 8 lengths off them, and not going with them is Pure Clan. He's last by 5. They have a half-mile left to travel now, and now they pick up the pace here. Still the leader is Folk Opera, but getting pressure now from Halfway to Heaven. Halfway to Heaven turns the pressure on. Wait a While right there in third, and Wait a While now going to pounce on those leaders as they go into the far turn. Just in behind that now we have Vakare down at the rail. Moralakana's in with a shot. On the far side, Forever Together. Visit, suddenly it's wide open. Visit's getting a beautiful run through at the rail, and look at Visit in the pink cap. He's just bolted through on the inside. Wait a While is in there. Halfway to Heaven. Coming home late for Kari. Moralakana. Suddenly half a dozen can win it. Wait a While gets the lead. Visit down at the rail on the outside. Forever Together. And now the long shot Sealy Hill. Forever Together. Together. Forever Together has won a thriller. Huge run from the long shot Sealy Hill. And Wait a While was right there in third.
Just told me, oh my God, she's gonna win. Sealy Hill looked good there for a while, but of course, Forever Together, the American champion, came rolling late. Now, Norm, you were telling me some interesting things about kind of figuring out the training, what Sealy Hill, who might have been a little difficult to work with, needed before that race.
That kind of alluded to the fact that he was a little disappointed that they retired her right after. We had finally kind of figured her out. We had put big full cup blinkers on her, put a special bridle on her, and it seemed to make a big difference when she ran in the Breeders' Cup. And unfortunately, she never got to show it again. But that was certainly a moment I won't forget, because for a split second it seemed like we were going to win a Breeders' Cup. At the time was our most important horse. So I'll always look and cherish that.
Now that was 2008, and I believe I read a story about you where you weren't sure what career path you were going down, and then there was the Kentucky Derby experience.
Yeah, that was 2006. I had just graduated college. I knew what I wanted to do, but I kind of didn't have the guts to tell Dad up front, hey, I want to train racehorses. I thought he'd
tell you to go work for somebody else.
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't bad. He just didn't think that he thought that I had the passion, because to train racehorses, you have to be very passionate about it. To do something 7 days a week, you have to be passionate about it. And when we did the walkover with Seaside Retreat, it solidified everything. There was no looking back from that point.
Do you remember when Norm told you he wanted to train horses? How'd that go?
I do, because I was just sitting there thinking about that. He had graduated. What was supposed to happen was he went to Bellarmine, took a business degree, and got that, and he was going to come and take care of the business part of our racing. And he was miserable. He was miserable. And I talked to him, I wasn't there. I'd talk to him on the phone. He was miserable. And one day I said to him, are you not enjoying yourself? Do you not like what you're doing? And he said, no. He says, I don't like it at all. And I said, well, what is it you want to do? And he goes, I want to be a horse trainer. And I said, well, why in the hell didn't you say it a long time ago? He said, I didn't think you would want me to be. He said at some point, I told him that I never wanted to be a horse trainer. I don't remember that. He would maybe remember it better than
I don't think you ever said that.
I don't think so. I just wanted, any of my kids, I want them to do whatever they like to do. And I said, okay, if you want to be a horse trainer, then we're going to make you the best horse trainer you can be. And I said, let's get this thing wrapped up, and you're going to go. And he went, and I put him with one of my best assistants, and I said, you follow him around and do that. And then he spent some time with one of our veterinarians. And I tell you what, you learn things when you don't even know you're learning them. And it's just experience. And then we had my other son, his brother Joel. He thought for a little while that he wanted to do it, and I can remember in New Orleans, and Joel is a tough guy. And I said to him, we were at dinner, I said, Joel, I don't think you have the passion for this, and he actually broke down and said, I don't.
Wow.
And I said, well, he said, I don't want you to be proud of me. I said, I'm proud of you, whatever you do. And now he's a policeman here in Louisville. So, and you know what? I'm very proud of him as well.
And that's Joel Casse. Do you know
Yes.
the beat he works?
He's part of the Viper unit and the SWAT team.
Yes.
What was it like following the assistant around, the vet around? Tell us about that. What are some things you?
Well, when and you know, the funny thing is, so Dad, when I talked to Dad, he was in Canada and I was in Ocala, and he said, well, then why don't you just come up here? And I literally drove straight through, and I remember I got there, and he goes, you got to be exhausted. You don't want to start tomorrow. You can have tomorrow off. I said, no, Dad, we've put this off long enough. Mm-hmm. And there was literally like a year span where I didn't miss a day of work because I just, I look back, I was so into it that everything that anybody said, and I talk a lot now, but back then, I just listened to everything everybody said because I knew I didn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And so, luckily enough, I was around Ricky and David, which are two of Dad's main guys back then, and luckily enough, they knew what they were doing because I could have been, I could have been steered in the wrong way, but they knew what they were doing. He had a great vet working there, Dr. Contard, and thankfully,
And you know what he always wanted? When you want something that bad, and luckily he came, a lot of things, my career and along with him has really come along in the last, 15 years. I went for a while, I was leading trainer here in the 80s, and I really wasn't crazy about the Kentucky circuit. I went to Toronto for a summer, and I kind of was burnt out on it. I'd started really young, but I was the general manager for Mangarian for a long time, but when I came back to racing, things really came around, and I mean, a lot of it has to do with Norman.
That's great. Great story.
Good story. And here we are now, and you guys are loaded with good horses, some of which you've been working with on a daily basis. Norm, we had Noble Bird break through in a big way this summer at Churchill. That was the Stephen Foster. Noble Bird, unfortunately, has been on the shelf a little bit. Had some trouble in the Whitney. And what's his latest status?
I think we sent him home to Ocala. Dad would have to talk a little bit more about that because he's in charge once they leave. But he didn't come out of the Whitney real good, and that's probably why he didn't run as well as we had hoped. And I think we'll see him back, at the beginning of the year. Hopefully, win the Stephen Foster again.
Win the Stephen Foster again. He ran a great out of Shiva as well. Before that, just missing. That was Derby Day. Now Derby that weekend was pretty big because we had there was another big win for the Casse stable, and that filly out of Bernstein has become quite a revelation this year. Tepin was a promising filly before this year. As a 4-year-old, she's been awesome. As good as she's been, though, I think that last race at Keeneland opened even more eyes to just how good she is. Mark, is it true? I heard this story somewhere. I don't know if this is true. Tell me if I'm wrong. But I heard a story. You were worried. You said, "Boy, I hope it's not wet for the first lady." It came up wet. She ran huge, and then you said, "I hope it's wet."
Yeah, no, it was
That was actually me.
Yeah, it was a big.
I went in perfect circumstances, and then we found out that she actually likes the yielding turf course. So I'd be more than happy than if it rains all day on Saturday.
She was, I mean, we've always thought she was good, but she, honestly, she shocked me.
Just in that last performance.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what it is. I think it may be the ground a little bit, and I also think it may be the cooler weather.
Now, I was a little surprised after the race. I mean, we were all blown away by the performance. We were there in the infield grass as you were in front of us talking about the performance a little bit, and right away there was no hesitation. I kind of thought maybe that she was headed to the mile 3/16 to the filly mare. You said right away she's going against the males. She's going for the Breeders' Cup Mile. You want to talk about that decision a little bit?
Well, we kind of going in, we had thought, the mile. I think the only thing, had she struggled to win the first lady, then we may have contemplated a little bit of going against the girls, or maybe just not running and calling it a year. She's done so much already, but I mean, the way she won, I mean, I don't know how you could run it anywhere but the mile.
Back up to, so she wins Derby weekend, right, in the Distaff Turf Mile. And many horse players were ready to write her off because she had an easy, soft lead. And obviously, most horse players, that's when, you jump against horses that have these soft setups. She got on the van to go to the plane or whatever, and this is before Norm and I became friendly, so this is a great story. He told people on their way out, we're going to win a grade 1 this weekend in New York. And so then you do, and then you go through this whole summer where all of a sudden it's like you're so close at Saratoga. Take us through that roller coaster of a season with her, and obviously it's not over yet, but that was pretty wild. I mean, so you win a race at Churchill every weekend, and then you win a grade 1. Take us through that process.
The Derby, Tepin's always been one of my favorite horses because she's kind of, a lot of the horses that we have a very big company, okay? And so there's a lot of different divisions and a lot of horses move in and out. And Tepin's kind of been, either she's at the farm or she's with the Kentucky division. So she's kind of like our own child or whatever. So already sentimental-wise, love Tepin. Now she wins on Derby Day, and all my family's there. It's very gratifying. And then she comes back and wins on Belmont Day, the day the Triple Crown happens for the first time in 37 years or whatever. And so she's already got a special place in my heart. And
She's already kind of experienced in front of big crowds on big days. That's a cool thing for the Breeders' Cup.
Well, believe me, she when it's go time, she's ready to go. But she's actually a really cool horse. Like, it's so funny, you would never know. Like, when she cools out, she never turns a hair. Like, it's pretty wild how calm she is. But anyways, so now we go to Saratoga, and we know we're pushing the limits. We know we're going further than she wants to go, and to get beat the way she got beat was very, very hard. It really was. But
we're still proud of her.
No, I thought she earned more respect because, like Travis said, people were writing her off. I think once she ran into Diana and the Boston Spa, people were no longer writing her off. She got beat, but they were like, hey, you know what? This is a serious race horse. Now she comes back at Kingland, which other than Churchill is kind of like our hometown track, at least for me living here, and delivers what I think, me personally, I don't know about that, might have been the easiest win I've ever experienced. And my brother's there and everything else. And I mean, you talk about the most gratifying moment of probably my life.
So she didn't just win.
Yeah.
She won.
Well, here's the best part of that whole race is that we just got beat a nose and a head in the last two where you're watching and you're just hoping you hold on. So now you're at Kingland, you're in another grade 1. And you're watching, and you're just enjoying it because there's not a horse around you.
Yeah,
I still was looking.
I never looked. I turn, and my brother goes, I've never experienced anything like that. That was incredible. I said, I know.
You know what, I thought her race, she trained, we brought her home, because a lot of people don't know, but when she ran in California, now that's why a lot of people didn't think she could go a mile and 8. I think she could. I wasn't worried about it, but something happened to her. It was kind of warm, and she about passed out after the race at Del Mar. And then we sent her home. We took her to the farm, and she was training really good when we sent her down to Norman. And I thought when she won the allowance race at Gulfstream, she was really impressive. And I think maybe the week prior to the grade 1 at Churchill, I was with Scott Hazelton maybe, and I told him, I said, I think this filly can run with the best fillies in North America. I said, none of them would scare me. And she paid pretty good on Derby. Yeah, Derby Day. And he tells me every time I see him, we got wealthy on that one. So, but he was disappointed. He said, you were worried about the soft turf. She didn't mind the soft turf.
That was me. I just wanted this situation to be perfect because I didn't want any excuses. I thought she'd come into the First Lady as good as possible. You get a bad post position, or what we thought was, and ended up being a perfect post position, and you want to run on a firm.
You just, you just don't know. Well, you keep saying, this filly's been good since early in the year. How can she keep running those at you? And I think is it Dan Eman from the Racing Forum? I was listening to him talk about, he was doing the handicapping, and they were saying that can this filly come back and run it again? And he was dead on, because I was worried. He said, I think they're running it here too. They want a good performance to see if she's good enough to go against the boys, and he was dead on. That's what we were looking for. We wanted that kind of performance out of
So
it.
it was big, though. I mean, in terms of a buyer, was a 108, and she had been running some 101s. The contrarian horse player in me is like, man, that's a really big effort. Is it a race too soon? How has she been doing since? And are you worried about that?
You know what? It was a 108 buyer, but I don't think she could won any easier. She was out for a joyride.
I think I agree with Dad about how she likes the cooler weather, because I will say this, and it may be because we pushed it to her max for a mile and 8, mile 16 with a fast pace at Saratoga. When she would run those races, and we'd walk back to the barn with her, she was exhausted. When she won the other day, she didn't take a deep breath. And I don't know if it was, and I pay attention to that. Like when I'm waiting, I'm not just there to show off or whatever. I'm waiting. I want to see if the horse is cut up or how they're breathing or whatever. And she was like, and it could be as simple as the heat. Maybe Dad's right that she's just so much better in the cooler weather, but she's very, very happy right now.
I'm more worried about trying to get the saddle on her. She was like, she literally broke my foot. And she's very quiet, like Norman says. And I put the girth on, and she went off all fours and landed and nearly caught my foot. I was like, okay, take her to the. We took her and saddled her in the. Yeah, she's a handful.
So that was the First Lady. The Grade 1 First Lady was the beginning of October at Keeneland. Guys, I remember, Mark, you said you were still looking back in the stretch. I actually looked for some European fillies on the turn early in the stretch. I looked up, I looked back. She was half a length just taking the lead. Looked back at some other horses back in the pack. I looked back, she was up by 6 lengths. It was over. Leperoux started looking back for competition. She was eased down the stretch. Let's watch that First Lady right now from Keeneland.
And they're off in the First Lady Stakes. Poor start for Outstanding, who broke in the air. There goes Tepin out for the lead. Crowley's Law has speed. Cara Marie is there in between horses. Solid Appeal also up close to the early pace as the field heads for the first turn. Cara Marie from the outside up to take a narrow lead at the entry to the turn. And Tepin moves toward her outside into second position. Crowley's Law is third back toward the inside. Solid Appeal goes fourth. Easter fifth on her outside. Kiss Moon is sixth back toward the rail. Jealous Cat seventh toward the center of the course. My Miss Sophia between horses is in 8th. Sky Treasure is 9th. Outstanding is 10th against the rail. And the late running She's Not Here is last, but right there with the field. 24-1. The time for the opening quarter, midpoint of the backstretch. And Cara Marie is the leader. She leads it against the rail by a length and a half. Tepin goes second, 3 parts of a length. Crowley's Law, then Easter. Easter now moves up third on the outside at the entry to the far turn. My Miss Sophia goes fifth between horses, 48 and 4/5 seconds for the first half mile. And here's Tepin now to draw alongside of Cara Marie, who still leads it by 3 parts of a length. Easter is third up on the outside, still 3 lengths off the lead. Crowley's Law fourth back toward the inside. A gap of 3 more lengths to My Miss Sophia. Sky Treasure angles wide outside of Solid Appeal. Then Outstanding between horses. She's Not Here has a long way to come. Into the stretch, Tepin takes the lead now, coming to the 8th pole. Now Tepin hits another gear. Tepin is just opening up with every stride. A late run from My Miss Sophia. She goes from 5th to 2nd, but well behind Tepin. And Julien Leperoux, when he said it was time to go, it was over. Tepin just toys with the field.
Now was Tepin absolutely annihilating a Grade 1 field in the First Lady at Keeneland. Now she goes into the Breeders' Cup Mile. And the competition, honestly, she's going to face the boys. There's several Europeans coming in that look pretty good. Anybody that you gentlemen have your eyes on is maybe the horses to watch, the horses for Tepin to beat in the Breeders' Cup Mile, or is it just let her run a race?
With me, it's just let her run a race. I know it's going to be a much more difficult situation. The pace is going to be a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I think Tepin's the best miler in the country. It's whether or not she can beat the best milers in the world. So we'll see.
You want to say it right now? She's the best miler in the world? Do you want to?
I don't want to say that. I'm brash, but I'm not that brash.
No, he doesn't want to say that.
There's some experience over there.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I know when.
I'm kind of the same way with you know what, I don't overanalyze everything. I do look to see pace and what's gonna happen, but I think if you keep, you go through and you go over and go over, I just get a headache.
Yeah.
So it's like, just worry about our horse, get her over there and hope for the best.
You know what's funny? And I'll say this: Kingland's weird. There are some horses that do not like that turf course.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only turf course that sometimes horses will throw a real bad race and then come back and run a better
I agree.
one. So at least we know that she likes that turf course.
You mentioned pace too. So obviously it's going to be in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not just pace. Obviously it's fast.
Yeah.
And you said that you actually think she might just be just as good rating a little bit farther off the pace rather than that sort of pace.
Well, yeah, I
pressure.
think everybody thinks that she has to sit close. I think she's just been, the fastest horse in the not necessarily the fastest, but she sits in the perfect spot in those races because that's where she puts herself. She doesn't necessarily have to be there. She'll relax behind horses, and when it becomes a sprint home, she's probably the fastest horse I've ever been around. So if she relaxes and that just sprints home, they won't be able to outsprint her. So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about pace at all. They can run as fast as they want because she'll sit back and relax.
Yeah, she relaxes.
And if they don't, Phil can go to the lead. So I never, it's funny because everybody all the experts and everything on Derby Day, I can remember talking to Julian and I said, Julian, there's no speed in here. I said, nobody wants it, just go on with it.
Now, how about for the British Cup Mile? What are you going to tell Julian?
I don't really tell him much, but obviously we're not gonna have to work, but Julian knows her. You know what? We don't give instructions to our riders. The only thing that we would maybe tell a rider is if there was a habit and they didn't know the horse, we try to, the riders we employ are.
You know what's
are
funny?
Good at what they do. We don't have to tell them what to do.
What's funny is there were some people that criticized Julian during the summer because he wasn't winning that many races at Saratoga, and you take a little bit of heat for that. But now we're sitting here and we're running Tepin, and we're riding the guy that's probably won more races at Kingland than anybody on the turf.
Yeah.
So you got a guy that's who knows the turf course better than anybody.
We're loyal. You know what? We're loyal guys too. I believe in dancing with the one who brought you.
Yeah.
And we did take some heat, not just on her, but some others, because our riders struggled at Saratoga. One of the reasons they struggle at Saratoga is because we struggled. Same thing in Toronto at Woodbine. If we're not winning, Patrick Husband's usually not winning, and so it goes that way. And I just don't think you should go and jump ship. I think you go with the guys that got you there, and like Norman said, I don't know if you could have a better guy on the turf at Keeneland than Julian.
Turf
Good
hand.
stuff.
You said you struggled at Saratoga. I heard a quote the other day where you said when you struggle at one meet and you told your team all it does is set you up for a stronger meet elsewhere. Tell us about that.
I don't know what year it was, but
It was 88, if that was the year.
there we broke the record at
Mhm.
Churchill. So in '88 we broke the record, and it was only broke about 5 or 6 years ago by Dale. But the Keeneland meet before we broke Churchill record.
Most wins in a spring meet.
Yeah, I think we went like 0 for 40 or 0 for 38 at Keeneland. I can remember jumping up and down and giving our groom and assistant high five because we finished third. And I have to tell you, Saratoga was tough because for one, we've been very fortunate. We've done well at Woodbine. And then, when we would come south and come in, I'd have to hear, oh, they only win in Toronto. They only win it. So California was gratifying for us to go out. We did very well in California. We didn't win a lot of races early on, but we won some big races and we did well. So kind of Saratoga was, we wanted to go there and show everybody. And if I hear another time that we're 1 for 40 on the dirt, in New York for the last 5 years. I wouldn't bet on us on the dirt in New York right now. But I mean, you know, of course we've run 40 times on the dirt in New York. In 5 years, we probably ran 4,000 starts.
Right.
You know, we're just gearing for that now. But all that being said, we still finished money earns 12th at Saratoga. We lost 3 races by less than a neck total. That would have made it a
Stake
great,
races.
you know, great.
It's funny if Tepin doesn't lose by the nose or the head or whatever. Saratoga has a totally different feel,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, right from the beginning.
Right.
I can tell you, I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
You wouldn't have impressed as much, that's for sure. You win a Grade 1 opening weekend. Now, Diana's kind of like a bucket list race for me, and it would have been different. But at the same time, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it the same exact way because I'm happy where we're at with
Well,
her.
yeah, a lot of times, and I said that to Mary Rappolini one time. She said to me, the first time we went back to Oakland, which was a couple years ago, she said, "What'd you think of Oakland?" I said, "Well, I was disappointed we didn't win more races." But I said, I don't base my opinion on how we do all the time. It's how we come out of it. And we came out of that, and we were the leading trainer at Keeneland. So, you know, a lot of it's how you come out of it, and Saratoga, you know, we're going to go back, and it's not going to whip us. And
You'll be back next year.
oh yeah,
There was a time, I'm going to tell you something, there was a time where we couldn't win at Keeneland. There was I think probably 2008 or 2009 where we got the duck at Churchill. And anytime you get beat, you learn from the mistakes, and then you move forward and you get better from it. Eventually we will win at Saratoga, and we'll figure it out.
I'm not here to talk about Saratoga.
But I'm just telling you.
no, but you brought up a very
You brought
sore
it up.
subject.
I'm sorry. Sorry. All right.
Eating.
Hey, you guys, let's talk about Team Casse.
I'm going.
Oh, show's over. Thanks, guys. 4th. Last year you were 5th in the earnings, in the North American earnings list.
I thought you were saying force. I said, you're
This
going to
year-
really bring force up? No, that's not what
This year you're 4th. You're number 4. $10 million in the bank, Team Casse. Your horses have earned, and a big part of that. Congratulations, first of all. It's a great year.
Thank
no
you.
matter if you had a few tough beats here and there at Saratoga. Over $10 million, a big part of that has to be all these wonderful Casse 2-year-olds that you're bringing out, rolling out, and we could see 5 of them at the Breeders' Cup. Where do we start? Maybe the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, where you guys have 2 or 3, and maybe Tepin could be the favorite in the mile. She's one of the favorites. Maybe Air Force.
I don't think she can. I don't see her
I
being.
think she'll be one of the favorites.
I read
I
her.
think she's
Do you
going to be one
want
of
her to
the,
be the
I'm going to
favorite?
tell you, she's going to be one of the sentimental favorites, that's for sure.
I'd read somebody said she was at one time a month ago she was going to be 30-1.
Yeah, they got her at 10-1 right
Yeah.
now.
I would
she'll
be
be shorter.
surprised if she's over
Should
5
be
to 1.
shorter than that.
Yeah, she's going to get that in a mile. And is Air Force, Travis? Air Force might be the favorite in the juvenile
Should
turf.
be close. Should be close. Win over the track. That'll help.
I actually don't want to be the favorite in that race. Did you see the stat they put up today?
I have not seen
They
it.
said since they've ran that race, the favorite has only won twice. In both the filly and the colt divisions, the favorite has only won twice in those things.
Okay, so Air,
Whatever,
Air
it
Force
doesn't
is
matter.
Air Force is going to be the second choice.
You know who amazes me that she hasn't got more respect is Catch a Glimpse.
I was going to talk about her suit too.
I mean, Catch a Glimpse, her first race at Woodbine, she didn't beat a whole lot, but she won much easier than it looked. And then she just toyed with the field in the Natalma. You know, you could say, well, maybe it's not that, but they brought in New York horses, they brought in. But one thing about Catch a Glimpse, she doesn't quit.
Yeah.
She just goes and goes and goes. We worked her 5/8 the other morning on the dirt, which she doesn't mind the dirt, but she went like a 101, and then she took off and she kept going and going. The girl said to me, we went out a mile and I couldn't even, and she just comes back. So I think, you haven't seen the best of Catch a Glimpse, and it's funny, I don't see a whole lot about her.
Yeah, she's 2 for 2 in the turf. That last race, the Natalma, which we're talking about,
Yeah.
it looked like maybe at the 3/16 pole, there were several fillies, that were kind
Yeah,
of
they
getting
said it
little
was
close.
a slow pace.
Yeah.
You know what? The turf was soft. It may have been a little slow. It wasn't that slow. And she can run as fast as you want her to run.
It wasn't all that different than what Tepin did at Keeneland. All of a sudden,
Right.
she just opened up and she was gone.
Well, with that long stretch there, it's hard to pull away and then keep going because
Yeah.
they sort of. I mean, when I watch Woodbine racing, it feels like there's sort of the herd instinct comes back into play mid-stretch and they come together a little bit more.
Well, what happens too is it's 3/8 of a mile. It's tough for a horse to run 3/8 of a mile on one lead. You'll see them jump back a lot of times back to their left lead, you know, and she did that a little bit too. So
Did you always know she was good?
no. She trained really good. She got to Saratoga, and Saratoga did not
It blew
agree.
her mind.
It blew her mind.
You know, everybody
Luckily,
talks.
we got her out of there.
We had her at Kingland during the spring, and she was actually pretty talented enough to warrant to send her to Saratoga because
Yeah.
we thought enough to send her to Saratoga. So
Right.
you would thought, but Saratoga's funny because everybody raves about how good it is to train a horse there, and I'm not. Probably is during the spring and the fall, but during the meet, if you're on the main track, it's almost worse than being the Churchill and Derby week. As much stuff's going on. So she
could
did
not take
she
it.
did not take it.
Luckily, we got her. We got her out of there.
Well, that was a terrific performance. Natalma at Woodbine. That was her last race going to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Why don't we roll the Natalma now, won by Catch a Glimpse.
DVG Robert Geller has the call.
Stand by for a start. She'll do it. Will complete the line. Goes up. All in. Locked up. Racing in the Natalma, and a great start for She'll Do It. And right away, Catch a Glimpse has gone to the front. Going through in the center, Silky Girl carrying away nicely on the insides, railing through to second spot after Catch a Glimpse in the early part. Silky Girl lying third from Pool de Goli up on the outside fourth, and She'll Do It on the extreme outside in fifth. A length behind them is Most Inspiring, and she is back mid-pack. Moving up is Chinchilla Dust, one to Miss Metropolitan. Gamble's Ghost early on is back on the inside, sharing second last position, and 3 lengths away last of all is No Clouds. Racing out in front, and Catch a Glimpse getting her own way here. She leads through the opening quarter. It was 24-2 as they go inside the 5/8, and it's Catch a Glimpse on top by a length to in second placing Silky Girl. Pool de Goli the outside. Back and forth is Karen. She'll Do It is moving into it easily. A length away, Most Inspiring is tagging on, and around the outside Chinchilla Dust. Gamble's Ghost still needs a way through the pack. Miss Metropolitan back second last, and last is No Clouds. They go through the half in 48-1, and chasing Catch a Glimpse on the inside. Going up is Silky Girl, Pull the Goalie. 4 wide, She'll Do It. Karen on the rails there, Most Inspiring. Gamble's Go, she's in the clear, coming to the outside. Catch a Glimpse down the lane by a length in the, now 2.5 lengths in the Natalma. Karen in second, right down the center of the track. Coming on is Gamble's Ghost, but are they going to get Catch a Glimpse? They go to the final furlong, and she's just rolling and rolling with enormous strides. Oh, she's long gone, and Catch a Glimpse is going to absolutely demolish them. And Catch a Glimpse wins the Natalma hands down by 5 lengths. Gamble's Ghost second, third Karen, and they're Most Inspiring.
That was Catch a Glimpse running away from the field in the Natalma at Woodbine. She's going to go into the Juvenile Fillies Turf as one of the horses to beat. We started to talk about Air Force a little bit. You also have 2 others. Conquest Daddy-O coming off a big win in the Summer Stakes, also at Woodbine. Air Force looked great, of course, at Keeneland, winning the Bourbon. And another horse was in that race running third for you guys.
Siding Spring.
What was the thought after the Bourbon? First and third, you had that Ramsey horse running down the middle of the track to split them, but impressive win for.
I didn't realize until afterwards, and I think I heard Randy Moss say that the 13 hole only 1% wins from there. I mean, you know, the draw's going to be a huge deal for the Breeders' Cup, especially this turf. Like a couple of years ago, we went to California thinking we could win the juvenile filly race with My Conquistador, and she drew the 14 hole, and it was just a killer. So it was nice to see Air Force be able to, you know, overcome the post, and it's going to be interesting. I have to tell you this: if there's big pace, they all have to watch out for Conquest Daddy-O, because he will come with a huge run.
Yeah, now in the summer, he was well out of it for most of the race.
He worked really well the other day on the dirt. He worked so good on the dirt that he may get to run on it someday. Not
Yeah.
anytime soon,
Not
but
now.
not now, but someday.
And he's the son of Scat Daddy, so it makes sense that he might like anything.
I mean, Scat Daddy, what a sire.
Yeah, Scat Daddy's been great.
Aero Force is 175 to 1 in the futures for a race next May called the Kentucky Derby. Ever going to see him on dirt?
Oh, I would say so.
He breezes really well on the dirt.
Yeah, and his owner kind of likes the dirt too. He likes the Kentucky Derby, so.
He's
I've-
been okay in the Derby.
Yeah,
too.
I'm sure at some point in time, Mr. Oxley's gonna want us to attempt the dirt, and like, as Norman said, you know, I have to tell you, both horses, him and Silent Springs, the only reason they started on the turf was because a maiden race at Kentucky Downs was 120,000 versus 35 at Churchill, and that's why they made their first starts. I would have had just as much confidence, I think Norman would have, had we run on the dirt.
Speaking of debuting on dirt, on September 11th at Churchill, a horse named Conquest Big E broke post one, right? Post 1 or 2. Broke a little bit slow, angled outside, ran off with the jockey, 4 wide far turn, contested to mid-stretch, ran huge, came back to win the other day at Keeneland. Tell us about Conquest Big E.
He may be your Derby horse, if you want to talk Derby.
What a beautiful animal.
Yeah,
It's almost close.
He comes with kind of a funny story. Obviously, Conquest Big E is owned by Ernie Smirsky. We call him E. And he had told me a couple of years ago, he says, when you find a good one, I want to name it Big E. And I said, I don't know if I can take that type of pressure. So I guess maybe about 4 months ago, we worked Big E, and I called him up. I said, I found Big E. So if you know my Conquistador, who was our good filly, well, his partner and owns Conquest is Dory. So my Conquistador was named after Dory, and this is the first one. This is Conquest Big E. So, you know, we've thought a lot of this horse. I thought his second race, you know, I thought he learned a lot from his first race. That's when we took the blinkers off of him. I mean, he had everything go wrong, and to run, you know, second to Dale's horse.
Brody's Cause, who came back and won the Grade 1 Breeders'
And
Championship.
Sean said, he never saw that horse. I'm not talking about Sean, I'm talking about the horse never saw the horse. I wouldn't put Sean into that category. But Sean, he said, you know, and you talk about a horse, and that may be one of the things, you know, I was saying to you about Catch a Glimpse. The other morning when we worked Big E, I would have rated his work maybe, you know, a 9 out of 10, the work itself. And then I would say the gallop out was a 11 out of 10.
Wow.
I mean, he just took off, and like it was nothing, you know. But again, you're gonna, you know, but they all lack experience. One thing we have going for us, if he can draw in, which I think he will, is, yeah, there's some horses that won bigger races, but if you look, very few horses have 2-turn experience. I actually we always try to win. Don't get me wrong. We want to win, but to me, I would rather him learn things in maiden races. And so when he got knocked around, and of course I would have loved for him to win his first start, but I just kind of smiled afterward and said, well, he learned something from that. He learned something the other day. I mean, he didn't have a perfect trip. He got knocked around at the start, and the horse that's unbelievable, and when he gets his act together, is Conquest Windy City, because he is another horse that will cherish the 1.25 miles later on in the year. And we've got a few others. We have a horse that may be as good as any 2-year-old in North America called Conquest Enforcer. He just won the Cup and Saucer about 10 days ago, and it's interesting because Patrick doesn't usually say much. He called me about a month ago. He said, I just worked, this horse is one of the best horses you've ever trained. And then about a week later, he worked him again. He said, no, this is the best horse I've ever sat on. And he didn't run he ran okay. You know, if it wasn't for Enforcer, Patrick Husbands would be riding Daddy-O. But he chose to ride the first-time starter, and then he came back and was really impressed the other day. So we have some really good horses. We're excited.
So the story about the Big E is fantastic. That's really interesting insight. So I'm curious now, because you talk about Conquest, Enforcer, and Big E. As a trainer, this is for both of you. I'm not a horseman. I'm a gambler / race caller, racing fan. What is it that you see in horses in the morning, even going back to when they're 2 years old and 4 months, you know, when they're young, that makes you say, you know what, this horse is going to get the Big E label?
Experience. I mean, you're good at what you do. You're
Well,
good.
thank you.
You're good at it. You know, it's just something, and we're fortunate because we get to be around a lot of good horses, so we have something to compare it to,
Okay.
right? And when you train the amount of horses that we train, and you see one or two stick out, I mean, Tepin, from day one, Tepin showed she was special. It just took a Noble Bird. When Noble Bird breezed a half mile as a 2-year-old, I told Mr. Oxley he was going to win the Kentucky Derby. But he got hurt. But we're very fortunate too. We have some wonderful owners that if you look at the Tepins and the Noble Birds and, the Conquest horses, you'll see, we give them time. Conquest Enforcer ran the other day. He's going to get some time. We will give him time, and if you have a little issue, we deal with it. And that's why Noble Bird could have probably continued to train. But our feeling was, hey, the Breeders' Cup's coming up awful tough this year.
Yeah.
So let's take him home, get him better, get him 100%, and we'll tackle him next year.
Sounds like you have a big stable, not only for the Breeders' Cup. We've talked about Conquest, Big E. We've talked about Air Force. By the way, Signing Springs, he's entered in both the juvenile turf. I think that's the first preference, and then also the juvenile. Is the juvenile a thought as well, or?
I think he's got a shot to get into the juvenile because he's only 3 back. But that decision's got to be made tomorrow. We have to. That's something new. We have to declare by tomorrow. I had a conversation with Kate Grossberg, right, Mr. Grossberg, before I got here, and we're going to talk about it in the morning. I just don't know what we're going to do yet.
Okay. And yeah, I think in the juvenile, Conquest Big E stands at 15 right now. So he's right on the outside, but a few of those horses above are actually first preference.
Yeah, there's some horses in there I would be shocked
Yeah.
if they were, it wouldn't make sense to me for them to run on the dirt. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't get in.
Big E should get in. Great information, Travis. I'm writing some of these names down. Of course, we've
I
heard.
saw you, yeah. You said it was funny because last week Buck Bradley was on this webcast, and he said one of the keys to success in training is giving horses time. And you just said the same thing. Why is that? What is it about horses that causes them to need time? Whether
I think the more you stress them, the more they do. It's like anything else. You're heating up joints. You continue to train a horse. The best way I would say on a scale, let's say 1 to 10, 10 being break point. You start at 1, and maybe after a race you may go to 4, and with a little rest you go back to 2. Now you run again. Now you've gone up to 5, and now you may come back to 3. So you're kind of, and sometimes they just need some time, and that's our job. And they don't always give you warnings. I mean, we had probably in 35 years, losing Danzig Moon this year it took me a long time to get over that. I'm still not over it. It bothers me, and it came from nowhere. So you can do your very best and stop some things, but some things you just can't. You have no control over, and people don't realize, unless you're there doing it every day, how tough it is. you know, and how hard it is.
Let's give Danzig Moon his due. He ran in the Kentucky Derby this year. By the way, it's a Kentucky Derby that produces a Triple Crown winner. He had a great ride. Julian Bruggever was a fantastic ride.
Got knocked around.
Yeah.
I mean, if you thought he was going to get hurt, shouldn't he have got hurt in the Kentucky Derby? They use him as a pinball, you know.
That race meant a lot to you. One of our friends at a local TV station did a little documentary of the experience of Derby Day. You guys were both on there. That was a big moment for you, Norm.
Well, I mean, you know, the Kentucky Derby is the reason I do it. It's always going to be the reason I do it. So I was very high on Danzig Moon for a long time, and he got us there. And you know, his legacy is getting beat 6 lengths to the horse and ended up winning the Triple Crown. So he's just he's certainly a horse I won't forget.
I can tell you this, and I don't have a problem saying it, and we would obviously love to win the Breeders' Cup. We haven't done it, we want to. The Breeders' Cup doesn't even get close to the Kentucky Derby.
Interesting. And Danzig Moon ran a heck of a
Yeah, he
race
did,
this year.
he did, and anyways.
Well, with Conquest Big E, Conquest Windy City, Conquest Enforcer, all these great 2-year-olds, I think there's good reason to believe that you guys will be.
Well, we're gonna get there, and I think it'll be sooner than later, so we're lucky, because only in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years have we been put into a position where it's not like winning the lottery. I mean, most of the time to win the Kentucky Derby, it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
For us, we're getting to buy a lot more lottery tickets. So our chances have increased, and it's only happened in the last few years, and so it's gonna happen.
You buying more lottery tickets. You just came from a horse sale today. So you buy a lot of horses for your owners. Without giving away secrets, when you're looking at horses at the sale, what are some things you keep your eye out for?
You know, just different things. I'll buy them tall, I'll buy them short, long, whatever. I like the way a horse walks. I like his neck and shoulder. I like their backs. But more importantly, I have 35 years of knowledge of, you know, I grew up in the breeding business. My father, you know, has been a breeder since I was a little boy. And I've seen pretty well every sire, every, so, you know, if I'm looking at a tap it out of a Smart Strike mirror, in my mind, how is that supposed to look? You know, that would be, you know, no different than if there's a basketball player and he's 7 foot tall and his wife's 6'5", well, you wouldn't expect their child to be 5 foot tall. So, you know, you have to, and interesting, you know, some, for instance, Scat Daddy's a good one. We've had the best, our Scat Daddies, the better Scat Daddies we have are little thin scat, the horses. So if I'm looking at Scat Daddies, that might be what I'm looking for. And that's, you know, but I still believe we have over 100 years of history and a pedigree. When we look at it, read it, believe it, and use it. And I try to do that. Give me an average looking horse with a great pedigree. I'll take that horse over the best looking horse with no pedigree anytime. It doesn't always work, but I'll take my chances.
Now, which was the owner? Was it John Oxley, the Derby winning owner, John Oxley, who started with you? The wins weren't coming fast enough, and then you said, "Hey, let me buy some horses. Let's go buy some horses together."
What happened was, 15 years ago, Mr. Oxley bought a filly that I was training. He let me run her one time. John Ward was training for him, and I met the Oxleys. And then I think I sat with them for the Eclipse Award at the same table. Mangarian, man I worked for, was up for leading breeder, and they had Beautiful Pleasure. So I met them. And I guess maybe about 5 years ago, Mr. Oxley had some homebreds that he couldn't sell and whatever. And I got a call one day and said, from somebody, said, would you want to take a couple horses for Mr. Oxley? And I said, well, of course. And they sent them to me, and you know what? They weren't the greatest horses. But we had one horse called Game Ball that won a couple races, And I can remember having dinner, or we were in the Illinois Derby, and I said to, he had a sales catalog, and I said, you know, I do pretty good buying horses. And we ended up, the first year we bought Prospective and Funny Proposition at Saratoga. We bought Delightful Mary at the 2-year-old sales. And, you know, it just went on, and here we are.
You said before we went on the air that some of the best horses you've bought were not the headline-making, you know, 7-figure attention-grabbing numbers.
You know, if you look at it, if you look at our success, actually hasn't come with the big numbers. I mean, one of the first, I bought a filly with my wife named Financing Available for $5,000. She made 1.3 million. Bought Kagan for 32,000. He's made $1 million. Dynamic Sky we bought for 25,000. He made $1 million. We bought Dixie Strike for 45,000. She made 1.2 million. You know, and then there's some big ones that, you know, don't work out. The deal with buying the more expensive horses with the bigger pedigrees is that if they are successful, the reward is much greater. You know, if you buy a $300,000 or $400,000 colt that goes on and runs well, he can be worth 10 million. But you buy a a big pedigree and buy a $15,000 or $20,000 horse, there's usually a limit to how much they're going to be worth if you're successful.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. I do want to put us all on the spot a little bit. You too, Travis. We are talking Breeders' Cup here a little bit. Norm, we can mention next year's Derby if you want. But is there a horse you're most looking forward to seeing? Maybe that's not trained by Team Casse. You want to see? Do you have a classic pick?
Oh, I mean, I'm very excited to see American Pharoah run. Obviously, that's the easy answer.
Do you think he's going to win?
I hope he does.
Like he does.
I mean, I hope he does, and I'm just happy to be, you know, where we're sitting here today and we're talking about a Triple Crown winner running in the Breeders' Cup. That's a dream come true.
I'd say American Pharoah for me. I think, you know, I have a great respect for Bob. I think Bob's done a great job with him. I just can't even imagine the pressure.
Yeah.
You know, we trained the only horse to ever be favored over American Pharoah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was in his second start. It was, and it was a horse called Skyway. He had won the Best Pal and was running in the
Yeah. Interesting. Who are we going to see in the Derby next year? Will you guys come back in about 6 months?
Oh yeah, I like
Derby.
this.
I hope you want us.
I hope we have Aero Force. I hope we have Conquest Piggy.
Don't leave anybody out.
You can start
Siding
running that race on a
Spring.
regular basis.
I like that half the field.
Street Gray.
Yeah, we have a horse called Street Gray.
You're welcome anytime.
Just be a
We
fun
just hope
Breeders'
to be
Cup.
there.
Yeah, it'd be fun. The one race I'm looking forward to next weekend is the sprint. I think Private Zone is an insanely talented sprinter, and obviously Run Happy is too, and that could be a race that really sort of grabs the headlines.
43 first half.
Oh, it could be sick. They could really throw it down. We'll see what happens.
Interesting. Gentlemen, Team Casse, Norm, Mark, thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us
Thank
tonight
you.
on Breeders' Cup Roundtable. Thank you again, Travis.
You bet.
We'll see you all next week. Next week we have 2 shows, Wednesday night and Thursday night. We'll see you then.